Welcome to everyone from all around the world who is joining us today. We are just going to give it just a few more seconds here for people to trickle in since we just hit the top of the hour, and then we're going to kick things off. So, Paul, I think, to start, we'll stay on this title slide, and then I'll just kind of give you the nod as we go through the initial slides and then turn things over to you if that works.
Sounds great. How many went?
All right. Sounds good. So I will formally kick things off here now that we've got everyone coming on in and formally welcome everyone to today's webinar. It is called How to Make AI Agents Your Best Teammates. And we really, really appreciate you all making the time. We know everyone is busy. Everyone has a lot of places they could be spending time. So we really do appreciate you taking the time to spend your time with us. And we're really excited for today's webinar because over the next hour or so, we are not going to just learn about how AI can function as a valuable teammate in your organization. We're actually going to see it in action. That's because we're joined today by the folks at NinjaCat. NinjaCat is a company that builds AI agents that help you unlock strategic insights and growth. And NinjaCat is going to show us exactly how to do that using their platform. So whether you are an enterprise, an agency, small, medium-sized business, I would say buckle up because we are going to start 2025 off strong with a deep dive into AI agents for marketing. Now, before we do that, I'd like to introduce you to our presenter today. Paul Derival is the CEO and co-founder of NinjaCat. He's got over 20 years of experience building and scaling startups from the ground up. And at NinjaCat, Paul combines a deep knowledge of the marketing agency landscape, MarTech ecosystems, and advanced reporting solutions with a passion for AI to build all the cool stuff we're going to see today. So Paul, welcome. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having us. So excited about this meeting today.
And I will be emceeing today's webinar. My name is Mike Kaput. I'm the Chief Content Officer here at Marketing AI Institute. So in my day-to-day work, I'm using, researching, testing dozens of different AI tools and strategies to grow and scale our traffic, leads, and revenue. So in just a second here, I'm going to turn things over to Paul to tell us a bit more about NinjaCat and kick us off. But before I do, Paul, if you wouldn't mind moving us forward one slide, I just want to very quickly say a few words about our company, Marketing AI Institute, for anyone who is new to our webinars or to our audience. We have a ton of new people each and every month that join our audience, and we are so happy to have you. We are a media, event, and education company. We have been helping leaders both in marketing and every other type of business function understand, pilot, and scale artificial intelligence since way back in 2016, if you can believe it. We do that by reaching hundreds of thousands of people each year through our website and our hit podcast, The Artificial Intelligence Show. We also reach them through our industry-leading events, including our annual Marketing AI Conference, or MAICON. We actually had this past year 1,100 people join us in person for 3 days at MAICON 2024. We expect 2025 to be an even bigger success. And very quickly, you can go to MAICON, MAICON.ai, to learn more and actually use the code webinar100 to get $100 off your ticket. We also offer a range of AI courses through our AI Academy. This includes our Piloting AI course, our Scaling AI course, and an AI Mastery membership, all of which are designed to dramatically accelerate your AI adoption, no matter what stage of your learning journey you are at. You can find out more about all of our educational offerings by going to the URL at the bottom of the slide, marketingaiinstitute.com, and click on education. So Paul, if you don't mind moving us forward one more, I will stop talking in a second, let Paul get to all the good stuff about agents, but just want to cover a couple quick housekeeping items about today's webinar. Today's webinar is one of what we call our AI in Action webinars. These are designed specifically to provide a behind the scenes look into how AI technology works. And it comes straight from the leading AI vendors building this technology. That means Paul is not just going to share valuable information with you via slides, though he will do that. He's also actually going to show you a demonstration of how to do some of the things we're talking about using NinjaCat. So the whole point of this is going from information to action and giving you a glimpse of how AI actually works in practice. As you can see here with the reminders on the slides, there will be an on-demand recording sent out via email within 24 hours after this webinar. So if you have to jump early or if you joined us late, you will receive the recording. We also are doing some Q&A at the end. So please ask any questions you have using the chat or the Q&A function. I will tell you either one works, but it is much easier for our team to see the Q&A function and get to your questions sooner. So if you could use that, that would be fantastic. And we will get to as many of them as we can, myself and Paul talking through it at the end of the webinar. All right, Paul, that's all I got. Will you take us away into the world of AI agents?
Very well. Just a couple of quick slides, as you mentioned, to kind of frame things, who we are, how we got here, and then we'll get into hopefully what is some of the most interesting, hopefully, mind-bending demos in AI that you've seen. So just quick, who is NinjaCat? Why do we exist? Our purpose at NinjaCat is to empower enterprises with intelligent data and AI solutions that automate the mundane and maximize the meaningful. And hopefully, as we close out the demos today, you'll see what we mean by this and just how close we are to delivering on that purpose. On a shorter term, what's our mission? Our team is sprinting towards an ambitious mission, which is to deliver the first enterprise marketing AGI solution. Now, what is the definition of AGI? We have kind of landed where you and Paul Raitzer is the ability to complete tasks as good, if not better, than the average human, right? And our goal is to achieve that by end of year. I think we're getting way closer and are going to do that way faster, as you'll see today. But that's our mission. So why we exist, NinjaCat started over a decade ago, originally to help agencies with client reporting, help them prove value so they could retain and expand their business. And it grew into a much larger vision of an all-in-one. So that's our founding story. But really what we're out here to do, we know there's lots of agencies on today's webinar is, help them address these pressures that they face, right? They're under pressure to just, make money, save money, mitigate risk, all of those things, right? And one of the ways that everyone tries to achieve a lot of these things, or one of the key ways, is through technology, right? Because the right technology offers that promise. What we found doing this for about a decade or so is that this is what it was supposed to look like. Team, you make some investments in some data and technology. You may have heard terms like, the modern marketing data stack, for example, right? Cobbling together all these point solutions, and the promise of putting together all these tools is tremendous value, right? Both to you and your customers. What we found to be true, the reality of these modern marketing stacks is something that we coined the term they actually become Frankenstacks, right? All these cobbled together point solutions that are just riddled with risk and complexity. And the pain points that we hear about so often with cobbling together all these different tools to ingest data, to transform data, to store data, to analyze the data, to monitor it, is when you cobble them all together, you just have so many points of failure, which results in, unreliable data, for example, that they become poorly integrated, right? Because you have so many different systems that are stitched together. They become super expensive and difficult to maintain. Expensive not only in the technology, but also the people that have to build and stitch together all that technology to keep it alive. And you can make it work if you're a big brand and you have the big budgets, right? There are many cases where they make it work because they have the budget, they have the people, and they can do that. In the agency and media company environment, however, there's another element of scale. Not only do you have to do this for one brand, you might have to do this for hundreds, if not tens of thousands of clients, which is the case of NinjaCat. We work with brands, but also large-scale agencies, media companies that have hundreds or thousands and thousands of customers. So that scalability factor is a huge pain point as well. So this is the reality of what they see, huge investments into, data and tech with not the promise of, the tremendous value that was supposed to be returned as a result of that investment. So our solution to that, NinjaCat, we call it the NinjaCat One Vision. It's comprised of two distinct components, the data and the apps, right? So everything, all the different jobs to be done, analyzing data, monitoring it, reporting on it, it all starts with data, right? Data is the foundation of everything, and especially in this world of AI agents, data plus AI makes everything possible, as we're about to see. So as you'll see in our demo, first and foremost, we'll show you how to nail the data that is going to be used in these AI agents, and that's done in our data cloud that connects to hundreds of different marketing sources, as well as any custom sources of data, ingest that data, automatically models that data. We call it our common marketing data model. So we know conversion and trade desk is called this, and analytics, it might be called this. So all that, basic aggregation is done out of the box with some advanced data transformation capabilities we'll show you using AI to clean your data and get it ready. Where we started over a decade ago was being the best in the world at that reporting use case, right? There's a certain story we want to tell to a certain set of stakeholders, and building fancy presentations and dashboards to do that. Where we're all in right now is on agents, because these agents just deliver a transformative way to tackle all those different jobs to be done, whether it's analyze, whether it's optimize, whether it's monitor, whether it's report. So you'll see that in our demo today. So this is the promise of NinjaCat, is by consolidating into an all-in-one solution that you'll see today. That the promise is these AI agents plus a minimal investment in data technology and technology can result in tremendous value to both your organization and to your customers. So let's get into the fun stuff. Agents. Agents. What are NinjaCat agents? Our definition of these is intelligent collaborators that integrate into your workflows, enhancing productivity and performance by assisting with decision-making and streamlining complex processes. How do they work, right? One thing I say a lot, and if you're key takeaway taking notes here, is the art of the possible, right? Delivering on our mission of enterprise marketing AGI, the ability to do any type of marketing task that could be done at a computer. What is actually required from a technology standpoint to achieve that mission? And it's MTTD is what we say: models, tools, techniques, and data. If you have those four ingredients, you can achieve almost any task that can be done at a computer. The models, which you all know, these large language models like OpenAI and Claude and Gemini, what they're bringing to the soup is the intelligence. They are synthetic intelligence of the entire internet, collective human knowledge, and also a reasoning engine that never existed before. The ability, given a goal, to come up with a plan to achieve that goal, right? That's what the LLM is providing, the models. After they come up with a plan, right, they're not that useful, maybe for content and stuff they are, but for more other tasks of like data and analytics or optimizing campaigns, there's a set of actions that the model is going to want to take, and you need to enable them with a set of tools to actually perform that task. So under the bucket of tools, you'll see in our demonstration today, these are things like code interpreter, right? We'll show you an agent that does media mix modeling. It needs tools to find the data, to write the natural language to SQL, to bring into that agent. If that means tools like code interpreter to run the Python scripts, for example. And that tools list can go long. It could be things like send a Slack message, start a campaign, stop a campaign, browse the web and find this piece of information. And there's techniques of like, how do we bring these models and these tools together, right? Terminologies like RAG, retrieval augmented generation, how you do multi-agent orchestration, just a lot of bringing the ingredients together. But the big differentiator, right, the real special sauce for NinjaCat, and probably why so many people, joined this webinar today, is the data. Where AI is at is most people on this webinar have probably been using AI for at least content, right? There's many, great companies out there like Jasper and such that are really focused on content generation, right? I don't know who's writing emails or blog posts without some form of being aided by ChatGPT or Claude, for example, right? So we're seeing huge adoption there, and kind of content generation being nearly a solved problem. The next promise of AI and agents is these other categories beyond content generation, like data and analytics and optimization and planning, that rely on not just unstructured data, as they call it, like chat your PDF, but structured data that lives in tables and warehouses and third-party APIs, and bringing all of that context into your agents to do so. So that you'll see today is NinjaCat's huge differentiator, is not only the ability to generate content-based agents, but more interesting and more powerfully in many cases is data-driven agents. Okay. So just teeing up as we get into this, as I like to say, the art of the possible, these agents can do almost anything, but that's really hard for many people to wrap their head around. And as you'll see today, what we found to be the ability to deliver transformative, consistent, reliable agents today, the strategy to get there is start by building specialist versus generalist. And what I mean by that, you'll see today, instead of building like PPC Paula as a generalist agent, you decompose the tasks that a paid search manager would do into all the individual small tasks, right? That could be landing page analysis, audience building, keyword optimization, and building a fine-tuned agent with specific step-by-step instructions, standard operating procedures, if you will, and the proper context. What data sets do they need to do that specific task incredibly reliably, right? And then on top of that, we'll close with the orchestration of how you can add agent teams and have a router agent that sits on top of these. But it's all about start with specialists, try to build an agent that has the ability to complete a specific task with the right instructions and the right data, and just the data that they need, because reducing ambiguity for these LLMs is a key strategy to getting them to perform well. So on our website, you'll see we have an agent library of like hundreds of different ideas across all these different categories that you could build in NinjaCat with these data-driven agents. You'll also, in today's demo, which I'm about to get to, is you can also just build any agent you can really imagine. And we'll introduce you to Bob. Bob is the agent that builds agents, one of our favorites over here. So let's get to it and show you the good stuff. All right. So we're in NinjaCat now, and I'm going to just take a quick minute to show you, the big differentiator of the specialist sauce is you need the data first, right? You need clean, reliable, normalized data to build all these cool things that I'm about to show you. So in NinjaCat, we make that very easy. You don't need to cobble together many different point solutions for ETL to ingest. We have hundreds of integrations, and you'll set them up in your data cloud after you connect them in this case, Google Ads. Then build up your data sets or data warehouse by going into each provider and choosing what are the data sets or streams of data that you're going to need for your agents. So you'll see one that we're going to show you pre-made, and we'll show you how to build it, one that helps optimize keywords. And it's going to need to look at the Google Ads search query performance. So you're going to build up a set of data sets that your agents are going to need coming through our data cloud. Okay. Once you choose all these data sets, data starts flowing reliably, accurately, and at scale. If you're an 8-tier media company that has hundreds of thousands of customers, it just starts ripping. Go get all that data, clean it, normalize it. And again, because of our common marketing data model, most of the aggregation type of stuff just happened out of the box. But if there's some more advanced data cleaning or transformation you need to do, you need to prepare a data set for a media mix model, like we're going to show you in a minute here. You need the ability to have the ninja tools, if you will, right? So we make everything easy, try to get 80% of it right, but then you need the tools to go ninja mode. So we have the ability to do AI chat transforms of your data, where you can just bring in any of your data sets through any of our integrations of that custom data, one or multiple. And then if you're a data engineer and you like writing SQL, great. But many of us are not data engineers, and we want to democratize a lot of this data cleaning transformation capabilities to all users. So we could use our AI transforms to just describe what we want to do with this data. Join these two data sets, remove any duplicates, and then the AI will go write the SQL for us, which we can verify and preview. All right. So many times you don't need to do that, but there's sometimes benefits of getting your data right up front versus just giving the raw data sets to the agents and letting them figure it out. And you have both choices in NinjaCat. Okay. Let me go to the really exciting stuff now. So agents, here's where the magic happens. So one of the very first agents we built, I personally built as a proof of concept, was media mix MAGGI. I want to say, could we build an agent that could do media mix modeling? Typically a task reserved for, $300,000 a year data scientist, takes lots of time to, build this data set, clean the data set. Then they have to use Python to build the model, to rate the model. Then they're doing advanced data science-y things like lagged effect analysis, diminishing returns analysis. And I wanted to see, could we build that agent? So if we could build that agent, then it's game on of what we can do with data. So I'm going to introduce you to our very first agent we ever built, which is media mix MAGGI. All right. So I'm going to go to the settings of media mix MAGGI. And the first thing I'm going to start with is the data. So here's a preview of the data that we were able to build in NinjaCat of aggregate spend across all channels, both digital as well as linear, like TV and radio, right? So by date, the revenue, which is the variable we're trying to drive, the spend for each channel, both digital as well as linear, like I said, radio, TV. And the cool thing about media mix models is they can have other variables. Was it raining? Was COVID going on? Was our competitor running a campaign? So that's the data set that we are tying media mix MAGGI to. Our agents can be tied to one or multiple data sets. So we're not restricting, right? So if they need to look across 10 different data sets, for example, to get to the answer, you could provide access to all of those different data sets or the pre-made views. Once they have access to the data, they just need a prompt, right? What is the task that you're being asked to do in a specialist fashion, consistently and reliably every single time? In the case of this, we are building media mix MAGGI, that is an expert data scientist with a specialty in media mix modeling. So if we look at the prompt over here, right, what we're saying is this is your core identity, budget allocation, ROI. Here are some operating principles around like asking clarifying questions, only providing factual data. If you can't answer something, tell me you can't answer it. The communication style, and then some of the technical things required to make MAGGI work, such as when you need to access data, which tools are you going to use to go find that data, right? So that's being defined in the prompt here, as well as some steps that we want MAGGI to take every time. Agents or AI will always try to please you, and they'll always come up with a plan. It just might not be the same plan every time. So you might want some consistencies. Here, we're being specific and saying, step 1, always do a lagged effect analysis. Step 2, then do a media mix model, build the model, rate the model. Step 3, you'll see in here, then get into some what if analysis with the user. But a pretty small prompt for what you're about to see here for what it can do. But that concept of like basic steps to follow, but you don't have to tell it how to do those steps, right? And then a prompt, the data plus the prompt plus the tools required to achieve that task. In this case, you're going to see that this agent code interpreter to do all the data science Python type work, as well as a bunch of built-in tools that are just native to NinjaCat's data-driven agents to go find the data, write the natural SQL, and do that RAG injection of that data in at the right spots here. So let me show you what this looks like. All right. So given that configuration, pointed to the right data with a prompt and having access to the right tools, user experience here, user command and say go, include 0 days lagged effect, and be as detailed about your plans as possible. So this is the plan that MAGGI wants to execute. Go find the data, then do a lagged effect analysis, get confirmation, do some media mix modeling, do some diminishing returns, and then come up with some recommendations. So it came up with a plan, and then MAGGI needs to start acting on that plan. So the first tool she calls is that query executor that goes into the NinjaCat data cloud, finds the data sets, writes the query to get the raw data to be injected into the next step of this flow here, which is the lagged effect analysis. Now at that point, it's calling in the next tool, which is the code interpreter / Python tool. So it's taking that data and behind the scenes to overcome any like context window limitations, passing that raw data into our code interpreter. And with all of our tools, we try not to overwhelm you with them, but you always need to have visibility into what is the agent doing, right? Making sure it's not hallucinating, making sure there wasn't ambiguity to make sure it was following the proper steps. So I can click on the 4 scripts executed and see what is that sub-agent, the code interpreter coming in to do. And then it's summarizing its findings, in this case, the lagged effect analysis, being produced in both chart as well as tabular form. So if you haven't done a lagged effect analysis, right, this is just basically saying when you spend money on different channels, I spend money today on a bottom of funnel search campaign, I should see the impact today. If I'm spending money on radio or TV or billboard, I might not see that from the day I spend to the day I see the impact might, be a lag of X number of days. So that's the step that this is doing, all the regression and presenting the user. That's an important input into many media mix models. So the user just says proceed or says, no, actually change this one to be 0 days. Well, and then Mary gets going, right? Knows the next job to build the model, rate the model. You can see all the steps that she's taking to do that. And then the output, the rated model, in this case, 89.3, which is quite good. And then from there, it's spitting out the model. So the purpose of media mix model is, if you haven't done one, is to get to something that looks like this, the coefficients, right? The coefficients here is basically saying, based on all those statistics that we did here, what the data is saying is that for every dollar that we spend on radio ads, we're killing it. We're making $8.57, right? However, for every dollar that we're spending on these specific display ad campaigns, we're losing 3 cents. So now we have that context, right? These coefficients for every dollar we spend, how much are we making or losing? And then the next step is it is told to do a diminishing return analysis per channel, all right? Because you can't just do budget shifts and expect, a linear return. So it's automatically going. The user only said go, proceed at this point. And then part of its task was to then come up with a budget simulation, right? So at this point, you could see the simulations that are being done. And the final output is, if this is for you as a brand, or if you're an agency working on behalf of a brand, the output is saying, if we increase budget by 20% for these high-performing, high-coefficient channels and decrease by 20% for these low-performing, low-coefficient channels, we could see a lift of nearly $500,000. And what's really cool is we can keep asking clarifying questions at this point. What if it was 30%, for example? So that was, an aha moment. It was like, whoa, right? If we can build that, then what can't we build? So media mix models are interesting to many, but not all, typically reserved to big brands that have, enough data to be able to do that type of stuff. There's a bigger push. If you're an agency, you can consider offering this as a more premium service, right? By having these enhanced capabilities as well. The next one I want to show you is I want to tie it back to that concept of, helping businesses make money, save money, mitigate risk, right? A really interesting one in terms of make money is like, one, you can offer media mix modeling as like a premium service. Another thing in like an agency or media company environment, what if you had an agent that could dig through all of your client accounts, find high performing campaigns that might be limited by budget, surface those, and then draft an email to the customer saying, we were looking at your accounts. We saw this opportunity. If you take advantage of this opportunity, you could see a result of X. So here's expansion opportunity. Eric is another agent that is tying into the Google Ads campaign performance data set here as a prompt to basically just go find the high performing campaigns limited by budget. That looks like here, do your thing for Coca-Cola. Now I'm going to call it another tool here, right? So for a brand, they can just pass this because they're just doing it for themselves. If you're an agency or media company, you have a handful or hundreds of customers, you don't want to build a custom agent per customer, right? So we've uniquely designed these agents to also be scalable and maintainable across hundreds or thousands and thousands of customers. All your customers' data comes into like these single data sets that are filtered by client IDs or client names, for example, and our agents can be fine-tuned to make sure that they are only returning data for specific customers, or they're running across all customers for like benchmark type tests. So in this case, I'm saying, do your thing for Coca-Cola. It's going and finding in the data cloud the client account match for Coca-Cola here. And then the rest of the steps are going to be filtered only to Coca-Cola. So here's the query. It's filtering only for Coca-Cola. Here's the raw data that's being returned at that step. After it goes through and does some of its Python stuff to identify high-performing campaigns limited by budget, it's highlighting them here. And then we're asking a follow-up question. Can you generate an email to the client with a simulation of what would happen, if they increase by 20%? So that's pretty neat. And then there's additional tools like you could build of like, maybe you even don't want your team to have to log into NinjaCat and you want the final step here to be add this as a task inside HubSpot, right? So that's kind of art possible of layering on these tools to achieve a task. And what's the final output? Is it an email? Is it stopping a campaign, starting a campaign, sending a Slack notification? All possible. I'm going to show you, just put a bow on some of the agents, and I got a couple more mind mind-bending demos here for you. Another popular one in the bucket, a very popular one here, is in the bucket of save money, right? So if you're in an agency, one of the most time-consuming tasks is keyword optimization, right? Google gets greedy and wants to, have you bid on keywords that are not necessarily relevant to that client. So it's just a constant battle. And one of the biggest places that many agencies spend their time is in that keyword optimization. Dig through the search query performance, find low performing keywords, and then let's add negative keywords to block those, to prevent bidding against them. One of the most time consuming tasks. Another agent that has become popular here in NinjaCat is negative Nancy. And that's Nancy's job, is to go find the negative keywords to add to the account. So in this case, like I set up earlier, I showed how to bring in a data set for that search query performance, which is going to be the main data set that this agent acts against. And then Nancy has a job here to find the underperforming or irrelevant to prioritize that negative keyword list. So the basic set of tasks and a basic sample query. I'm going to show you Bob in a moment, right? All of these agents I've shown you, there was no prompt engineering. It's the agent builder agent, which I'm going to show you in a moment, that actually goes, configures these agents, writes the prompts for you, turns on the right tools. Right? But in this case, here we have negative Nancy, who I can say go, right? And then it's saying for which client. I'm saying for Coca-Cola, goes, rips through those data sets, runs the Python scripts to identify, based on the prompt here, a rationale as to why that might be a keyword that we should consider blocking or adding as a negative, right? In another scenario I had last night, I had an idea. I was like, what if it also took in context from the client's website as part of its rationale of if this is a good keyword or a bad keyword. So here's a version. We went in, we just tweaked it, and we added a step that said, after you go through the data, ask for the website URL, scrape the website URL, and then for each keyword, give a score of the relevance of that keyword to the contents of the website, or the essence of this website, if you will. So in this scenario, said Coca-Cola, data, rips through, we have scraping tools. So it's scraping all the contents of the website as part of its context. And then as you can see in here, for each one of those keywords, it's doing a relevance score as well. Pretty neat, right? So any questions, Mike, on that so far?
No, that's fantastic so far. I just wanted to clarify one thing as you're going. So with the data we got a couple of questions just around where the data is saved and stored. You're pulling in data from integrations from tools like Google Ads, et cetera, right?
That is exactly. We have hundreds of integrations from all those different search, social, OTT, email, project management, CRM systems, as well as any custom sources of data. So that could be data that lives in a Google Sheet. It could be data that you just even email into a NinjaCat. We give your white labeled email address, right? All that data is ingested, automatically goes through its basic cleaning process. It's stored. We're built on Snowflake, so the most highly performant, secured data warehouse technology out there is where it's stored. So you don't have to think about any of that.
Gotcha. Cool.
All right. So a question might be, as I talked about, what does it take to build one of these agents? So I'd love to introduce you to Bob. Bob is an agent that builds agents, very new feature in the last couple of weeks here. So hopefully the demo gods work with us in the stream. But let's give it a shot. So I'm going to create a new agent, right? And I'm just going to copy that purpose of Nancy, right? We all understand what Nancy does. So what does it take to create that negative Nancy type agent? So when you create an agent, down here, you can see agent builder Bob. What do you want this agent to do? And I'm just giving it a goal of identifies underperforming or irrelevant search terms to optimize keyword lists. That's its task. We want to make it a specialist that can complete that task. And Bob gets to work. Bob is thinking, step one, we need a logo, right? And a good logo. So step one, go build a logo. That's one of our tools. So we connect to DALL-E and some other image generation models like Recraft that are producing just some higher end stuff to generate any type of imagery. Step two, all right, well, this seems like a data-driven task, right? So what data sets? Let's go through all these potential hundreds of data sets that are living in our data warehouse and find which are the ones that might be relevant to this task. So we found a couple that may be relevant here, right? And in this case, I'm going to say 2A. right? And I can preview them to see what's inside them. I'll say 2A. Data set has been added. All we did was we came into Bob, we set the goal, we chose the data set, which means now the data set has been configured. A prompt has been written to achieve the task. And then the tools that it believes it needs to achieve this task have been enabled as well, right? And then we could just start testing this new agent over here. And the cool process is while we're testing on the right-hand side, we could just tell Bob on the left-hand side is, you know what, can you always return this column? You know what, can we add the scraping capability? So it's just a really cool process to iterate on an agent. You start it that easy. You start experimenting with it on the right-hand side, and you talk to Bob on the left-hand side over here, which will automatically update the prompt, change the data sets if needed to get to that, consistent, reliable outcome. Pretty neat, right?
That's really cool. I love that. That just seems so simple to use, especially for, myself who's a little less on the programming and technical side. That's really, really cool.
Now, I don't want to run the clock on it, but what if the tool doesn't exist or the integration doesn't exist? So in addition to having an agent that builds agents, we have an agent that builds integrations and an agent that builds tools. So Bob's first cousin is Tim the Toolman Taylor. Should you, say, hey, I want to, have the ability to bring in data from the data from SEO API, but that's not a pre-built tool. No problem. Come into Tim and say, I need to build a tool that'll return the backlink summary. Here's the API docs. It goes, scrapes all the API docs, and then creates a serverless function that's automatically deployed and now available to your agents. So to send a Slack email, to add to HubSpot, like anything that has an API, you can ask Tim to go build you the tool that would enable that action for any of your agents. And then on the integration of bringing data into the data cloud, we have a new agent, which is connector builder Carl, right? I wanted to bring Gong call data into an agent I'm trying to build, and connector builder Carl will go write the code needed for a NinjaCat smart connector, and then data will start being brought in that way. So 2 more things to demo, and then I want to make sure we leave some time for questions. So it's almost agents for everything, right? But sometimes you just want like a dashboard, right? In certain scenarios. So NinjaCat for the last 10 years, we have this beautiful drag and drop dashboard designer, report designer to recreate any dashboard or PDF to near pixel perfection, but it's very much, I need to know what I want. I need to drag and drop things and choose dimensions and metrics like on a canvas. And that's what we've been doing, the best in the world. But we need to disrupt ourselves and be even better at that. Like, what is an AI first way to build some of these dashboards and some of the reporting? So I'm going to introduce you to one of our other agents called Streamlit Builder. For those that are not familiar with Streamlit was acquired by Snowflake, but it's what most data scientists use to do advanced like dashboards that can do things like regressions or forecasting and like interactive, because they're built on Python as a backend. We can do almost anything, and a very easy to use, lightweight front end for UI. So the data engineer doesn't need to be thinking about like, how should I display this? So we have an agent that is a specialist in building Streamlit data applications. In here, I can say, please build a campaign and keyword exploration app. And then this agent is tuned to work with the user to come up with a spec for this dashboard. So it's coming up with a plan, the dashboard, the dimensions the agent suggesting we should have. And again, it knows the data it has access to. It's not going to come up with a plan it can execute against. It knows all the data in the data cloud. The goal is of this dashboard. Here's the dimensions. Here's the KPIs. Here's some of the features like filtering we're going to have. It's a great plan. First shot. I should do it, right? It then goes, it builds, writes all the Python, adds a front end to it, deploys this as a containerized application, and then whatever you can think of, you could just will into existence, and you have Streamlit apps. Now this one has the filtering capabilities, has the keyword performance tab, but I want to iterate on this, right? I want to add like interactive engram capabilities, which is something interesting with like keywords, right? So I want to add that. What does that take? Just tell, configure. Can you please add interactive engram functionality on a new tab? And the result of that one here is we have a dashboard that now has interactive engram. So if you want to build dashboards, scenario modeling, benchmarking tools for you or your clients, this is another type of medium that you can use. So dashboards are great for like benchmarking, tooling. where agents are really good at completing a task, if that makes sense. And we offer the ability to achieve both of those in whatever the best medium is for that. The last thing I'll show you is now you have a world where you have all these types of agents, right, that are fine-tuned to do specific tasks. But you want to reduce that cognitive load, and maybe you want these agents to collaborate with each other. I'm like, hey, I have a question, but do I ask Negative Nancy that question, or do I ask Medium X Mary that question, right? So one of the things we're working on is what we call MAGGI, Marketing AGI, but it's our orchestrator agent, and been experimenting with some of the user experience for that agent. So there's a little early demo. This one's using a mock data set here, but a really fun one. Let me introduce you to MAGGI.
Hey there, how's it going? What can I help you with today?
Hey, Maggie. This is Norm, the CMO of General Motors, and I have a couple questions I could really use your help with. What's our media spend distribution across DMAs?
Hi, Norm. I'd be happy to help with that. Let me analyze the media spend distribution across the DMAs for you. All right, Norm. Here's the media spend distribution across DMAs. Top spending DMAs, 5,131,637. Atlanta, 4,075,396.
Maggie, I'm sorry to interrupt. I have another question. Can we look at Chevrolet's market performance and inventory status across different regions?
Of course, Norm. Let's take a look at Chevrolet's market performance and inventory status across different regions. One moment while I retrieve the information. Here's the recent Chevrolet market analysis. Top performing DMAs, Atlanta, Chicago, and London.
You help me with another question. What's the correlation between marketing spend and sales in our top performing DMAs?
Absolutely, Norm. Let's analyze the correlation between marketing spend and sales in your top performing DMAs. I'll get that information for you right away. The analysis shows a strong positive correlation of 0.83 between marketing spend and sales in your top performing DMAs, indicating that increases in marketing spend are likely to result in higher sales. Top efficiency DMAs. New York, 3.85 efficient.
Super helpful, but I need to run to another meeting. Would you mind summarizing all of your recommendations?
Norm, I've consolidated all the recommendations for you. Focus on top performing DMAs like New York and Los Angeles while addressing underperforming markets through targeted interventions. Media.
Really good. Would you mind emailing me these recommendations?
I've sent the recommendations to your email, Norm. It includes all the details we discussed today. If you have any more questions or need further assistance, feel free to reach out. Have a great meeting.
Oh, thank you so much, Maggie. You're so helpful. I will talk to you later.
You're very welcome, Norm. I'm glad I could help. Talk to you later.
Pretty neat, right?
Yeah, based on the reactions from the audience, I think that one was a hit.
Just imagine the world, like I've always been saying, dashboards are dead, right? Especially in agencies, like nobody looks at them, they're data vomit. That's why world are always like, hey, it's about data storytelling, presentation, lead with push reports. But, is that the medium of the future, or is it dashboards that are you can ask any question to, and they're not only giving you the data, they have the ability to tell you and what you should do about it, right? That's the world that we now live in. So I'll just close with one saying before we get to questions. Hopefully puts a bow on everything that we shared today, which is, this vision. Our marketing AGI vision is that there's going to be agents for, absolutely everything, and they're going to evolve from tools into true teammates. And they're going to automate the monotonous while amplifying the meaningful. So hope everyone, joins us on this mission and can experience that realization of that promise.
I love that. That's fantastic, Paul. All right. You ready for a few questions? Maybe we should add MAGGI answer all these for us, I guess. Maybe we could do that on a future one. Just pretty
don't know how it's going to go, but
next time we should do it. Awesome. And I just want to note before we dive in, we have so many questions that if we don't get to yours, or if you have further questions, we just can't get to it in the amount of time, just reach out, ninjacat.io. The team is happy to engage with you, talk through anything else with you, but we're going to try to get through quite a few of these. So first up,
you want to say for anybody that was, hopefully intrigued by that, please go to our website, www.ninjacat.io, request a demo. We'll take you through a demo. We're doing proof of values as well on these agents right now. So just want to put that out there for anyone that might not be sticking around for the questions, but I got time and I'd love to answer any questions that are being thrown our way.
Yeah, maybe that last point is a good place to start because, a question that's kind of been asked multiple times on everyone's mind after this awesome demo is like, what is the pricing structure? What is kind of that like, how are you working with people to kind of help them see the value of these agents?
Pricing agents is one of the hardest challenges I've faced as a CEO. Forget the technical challenges, right? One of our earliest adopters, we were like, all right, let's do seats, right? Because everyone's going to need one of these and work with these. And then now we have autonomous agents that you can schedule to run and do the test. So we're like, oh shit, seats doesn't work, right? So we're trying to align to, with a lot of these agents is, outcome oriented, if you will, right? And the way that we're just approaching that today, it's very custom. We are more, enterprise of a solution here. So what we're finding most people are doing is, you had the different phases. You had the great invention, which was LLMs. And then you had the great experimentation, which has been going on. It's like, can this do that thing? Can it really do it? And then quickly is going to come the great implementation. Where a lot of people are in the great implementation is in like those support service related tasks, because that is like proven the ROI is too insane to have agents that are out there, helping do, tier one support stuff. We're still in like this new data analytic, even NinjaCat scene. It's still a bit of the great experimentation. Although we have case studies like Cox Media that's now in their great implementation with NinjaCat. Literally, so far the first two agents, both of them each delivered over 1,000 hours in yearly savings, and they're just going on more and more agents to help them make money, save money, mitigate risk. But a lot of people on this webinar, I think, are still probably in the great experimentation phase and hopefully allocating some form of experimental budget towards AI or AI agents specifically this year. So I'd say we're telling everybody, if you're just early in the experimentation, try to earmark like a $50,000 to $100,000 experimentation budget for some of the stuff with NinjaCat. And for that range where we can, stand up and deploy a couple of agents. Now, again, depending on the complexity, we're working with some Fortune 2000 brands, we're working with some small agencies. It's custom to what is the outcome. And, our goal is whatever you pay us, you should be making at least 4x, right, on what you pay us. So to answer the question, it's a little bit custom, it's a little bit enterprise. We really do focus on the outcomes. We start with a proof of value, but if you're like, hey, if we fall in love with it, how much is it going to take to get started? I'd say you can find a 50 to 100,000, annual experimental budget. NinjaCat would be happy to get you started.
So maybe talk to me just a little bit more. I know you touched on this with integrations because you mentioned something really cool and showed off that awesome ability to basically build your own integration. It seems like on the website you have a couple hundred integrations already with popular tools. So it sounds like either there's an integration that can be used right now out of the box, or you can quickly build one. Is that okay? Is that correct?
That is accurate. Using it pre-made smart connectors, or the new thing is connector builder, Carl, which will be to connect into one of our smart connectors.
Gotcha. I'm curious, like the couple questions talked about different angles of this, like and offered some of their own ideas actually. Like what are some of the most interesting use cases you've come across outside of the ones that you showed us for these types of AI agents?
There's so many cool things that you just couldn't do without this technology ahead of time. So for example, let's say you sell generators, right? What if you built an agent, right, that was using our scraping tool, our web browser tool, and could be scraping like power outages in a certain area, right? Knowing the zip code affected and constantly checking like every 5 minutes. they got power, and then catches it down. Oh, shit, they've been down for like an hour or something, a small pocket, and then leverages that scraping tool to basically build a dynamic audience of people that were affected in that target zone. And then you're hitting them with a postcard of like time to get a generator, right? So one, you wouldn't have a human just sitting on a website going refresh, 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 right? And if so, that person's role should be eliminated and they should be upskilled to do something more interesting, right? But like just those types of, when it's all about the data, a lot of people don't focus on first party data, but what about just all these signals that are out there, like scraping your competitor, using our browser tool to be like, click on a category for Eddie Bauer and see what category and what promotions are they running, and then dynamically, in near real time reacting to that data. So many cool use cases like that, the ability to go scrape and find these signals and act on that of something that's going on is one of my favorites right now.
That's so cool. I love that idea. Kind of along those lines, a few people asked different questions about agents for data analysis. Do you have any type of agent yet, or are you thinking of one that could completely replace a data analyst or augment them in some way?
I mean, based on what you've seen here, I mean, right, Media Mix MAGGI is, a data analyst that is fine-tuned to do a specific task. You can create a generic data analyst and just give it a basic prompt, like you're a helpful assistant, you dig through data, you have Python, and it could be a generalist data analyst that can do most tasks that you throw at it, right? But we really like to advocate for now some specific task first, and then also create a couple generalists as well.
Gotcha. That makes perfect sense. So we've kind of talked a bit about the technology, but there's also some questions around like the people side of this. So one of them is like, in order to justify, that kind of investment in this type of technology, you have to make that business case. And I know you work closely with customers on how to do that, but like what wisdom do you have about helping people pitch this internally to leaders and even to data security or legal as well?
Great question. I'd say there's a couple things, right? And how people and different, jobs are impacted by this. One of our war cries right now at NinjaCat and on our mission here is I expect everyone to deliver insanely great work at a remarkable pace. And that is an expectation that everyone can live up to if they're using this technology. Insanely great work at a remarkable pace, right? So everyone I'm sure leaders, businesses can get behind that. Yeah, if all my team can be delivering insanely great work at a remarkable pace, sign me up. Because what's the impact of doing insanely great work at a remarkable pace? It's different, for different businesses. In certain organizations, like an agency or a media company, like these businesses of scale of how many reps do they have? If you have like one PPC manager that handles 10 accounts without agents, could you have one PPC manager handle 20 accounts so that the ability to scale without adding more headcount is probably the second most, compelling argument that a lot of these agencies and media companies have right now. And that's like in the saving money bucket, right? Using agents to help you make money, to help you do prospecting, find new business, offer new premium services is another way to sell it in. And then there is that mitigate risk, right? So, if you're running ads as an agency or brand direct yourself and you're in like property management, you have like compliance risk, fair housing. What happens if you're putting ads out there that, are not meeting those standards and the risk associated with that stuff? So it depends on who the organization is. But if you think in those buckets of like these agents can help you make money, save money, mitigate risk, you're going to find, a justifiable way of some juicy use cases in one of those three buckets, if not all three of them, to justify at least the experimentation to prove it out.
So another human focused question, like how are you viewing skills and human expertise as part of working in complement with agents? So, you're working with MAGGI, it's giving you these great outputs. Obviously, you need the expertise to be able to verify those. Obviously, we want to make sure agents ideally are, complementing people we either have or are going to hire instead of totally replacing the people who already are in our organizations. Can you maybe kind of walk me through some of the considerations there?
Yes, certainly. You are right of like some tasks can just be done autonomously, right? Run it, get it going, let it go, find an anomaly, tell you about the anomaly. Like that in itself was a job, looking for anomaly. You don't have to go do that job, right? But then what are you going to do about that anomaly, right? Is still right now is where the human has some judgment. What should we do? Right. So I think there's that concept of judgment is still very important as like overseeing these agents that you're building first and foremost, as well as taste, right? And content and other thing that these things produce. That's just, you can't trust the AI with those things that are truly human. I love, what is it, story of Rick Rubin, one of the most famous heroes do works with Beastie Boys and the who's of everyone, and just so proudly admits he knows absolutely nothing about music, nothing. Why are people, how are you producing everything? I know what I like, I have great taste, right? So there's an element of, regardless of when these things are in creation mode, of the humans, because you're still selling to other humans at this time, right? So you need humans to kind of judge that human taste and steer these in different ways. And I still think from a judgment approach, it's very important that somebody is here saying like, I'm glad you saw it. Now you saw it. Yes, go do this, right? And giving those types of approvals as well. But I'd say overall, the reality is this is going to allow us to get brutally efficient, right? Which is a good thing. I'm the optimist that believes, in the power of this AI and abundance that can bring. But I think in the more short term, or at least my hope is, see a lot of people out there trying to live forever. And I'm like, 100 years it's kind of weird. I think 100 years is a long life. I believe, this technology, my hope in the short term is that people can spend, less time working, right, and more time truly living and using this technology. So we at NinjaCat, for example, do a 4-day work week. We've been doing that with 2 years, for about 2 years now. And my hope is use our technology to get to the 3-day work week. And even the diamond of JP Morgan Chase, like, this is inevitable, right? It's coming. Your kids are not going to be working 5 days with the efficiency that this technology brings to us.
I love that. That's such a cool perspective on it. So for our last question, I want to ask you a question that we try to ask in one way or another to every person we have on a webinar. Like, what is your one piece of kind of immediate advice you'd have for marketers trying to navigate all these changes related to AI agents, everything that's coming fast and furious our way? What should we be doing when we jump off this webinar if we haven't already?
I think first and foremost, I think it might have even been Paul that might have coined the term, like, AI is not going to take your job, people. That's so true, right? You got to face the fear, lean into that. These are technologies that are going to enable you to deliver insanely great work at a fast pace. And for the foreseeable future, that is going to make you valuable. When we hear people saying, it can't do that, it can't do that, what they're really saying is, I'm scared, because the technology is here. So it's important for leaders to acknowledge that fear, right? But also provide the radical candor, like, and it ain't changing and it's coming faster than a lot of people can adapt to. So just go run an experiment, have your aha moment, right? Lean into it, and encouraging leaders to do that, or the people that have adopted, you're like, just try it. And your goal is get better at delivering insanely great work at a remarkable pace, leverage this technology to do that. That makes you more valuable immediately today. So don't be scared. Run an experiment, right? Start small, I think is another one. We might have overwhelmed if, like, start super small. Whether it's NinjaCat might be too big for you now, go use ChatGPT, create a custom GPT, whatever it might. Run an experiment of a task that you hate doing. I bet there is a way to automate that task you hate doing the most using this technology.
That is a fantastic way to wrap this up. Paul, thank you so much for this awesome demo. I mean, people are over the moon about it. So cool to see. Everyone, go check out NinjaCat if it's a fit for your kind of company size and needs. And thank you so much to everyone in the audience for joining us this afternoon, at least on our time, or whatever time it is, wherever you are. We really appreciate all of you and your time and attention. Paul, thanks again.
It's so fun.
All right. Have a great day, everyone.